All right, you guys. Well, I'm so excited. I am back with Dr. Megen McBride to talk more about hormones. So hopefully you've all seen our first video that we did. And we're going to do some deep dives now. So we're going to start with estrogen. So most of you, if you don't know me, I'm Shannon Blas, and this is Dr. Megen McBride. She's a naturopathic doctor. She's my doctor. She's amazing. But we wanted to talk about hormones. So we are going to start with estrogen. So, Dr. McBride, can you tell us just what the function of estrogen is in our body?
Well, estrogen is that amazing moisturizing hormone that allows us to have the thick hair, the soft nails, the it moisturizes the mucosal lining of the body, so it allows like eyes, ears, nose, throat, vaginal canal to be moisturized, to be feeling young. But estrogen actually has a lot of other benefits. It helps with mineral density and bone building mineral density, which is really important for preventing osteoporosis and supporting our bone health. Also, estrogen is very anti-inflammatory, and it helps to keep cholesterol managed, and so that's another impact that it has on the cardiovascular system. And then lastly, just a benefit that I always want to teach my clients is that estrogen is very important in strengthening and tonifying ligaments and tendons. And so it can be very beneficial for women who are struggling with urinary incontinence, pelvic floor muscles and tonifying the pelvic floor. So it's a very important hormone that affects the entire body.
Yeah, so interesting because you didn't really think about that. It's like the female hormone they always say, but men also have estrogen. So your skin, but just keeping your body just healthy inside. So as we know, when we age, our estrogen starts to go down. Now, it's not at a specific age. Some people have estrogen levels vary at different times of their life, but can you tell us a little bit about what happens like when your estrogen is dipping down, or just when it's too high or too low, or what happens in your body with that?
So as we age, our body converts. We actually have three different types of estrogen. We have estradiol, which is kind of gets all those beautiful benefits that I just shared with you, are a result primarily of estradiol. But we also have another type of estrogen, which is estrone. Now, estrone is an estrogen it's a weaker estrogen than estradiol. And so what happens that as we age and as we go into perimenopause and menopause, we start having this shift from primarily being estradiol dominant, or primarily making estradiol, into primarily making estrone. And so estrone is it's a weaker estrogen. We're gonna feel a little bit drier in the mucosal membranes. We might be a little more irritable in the body, and feeling you could be associated with some headaches and some migraines. So this is something that's really important to understand, is that it's not just that we don't have estrogen, but the type of estrogen is changing. And so those symptoms can affect our sleep quality and our ability to sleep. Our fatigue during the day can be impacted. Brain function, brain fog can be a factor as well. There are overall signs of not enough estrogen. But I want to kind of start with a little too much estrogen. And the reason why, so we can compare it, because a lot of times we kind of come up with this, oh, it's period time, there's bloating, there's a little bit of swelling in the body. We might gain 5 pounds or so, and then we get this water weight gain, which is very common when estrogen is, well, sometimes it's when estrogen is dropping, when estrogen is coming, but there's so many factors, and it is a little bit complicated. But as we move past these symptoms of too high estrogen, we go into this shift to this different type of estrogen, and then we can feel effects of like memory. Short-term memory can be impacted with this. Our periods are going to become lighter. They're going to be a little more spread out. Mm-hmm. So if they go beyond 26, 28 days and 30 days, maybe you're going to miss a month here and there. So fewer cycles. Mm-hmm. Depression can be a symptom, as well as anxiety, or a fluctuation between the two. of course, a common one that we're aware of is hot flashes. So hot flashes, especially nighttime hot flashes, it really regulates with our circadian rhythm as well, and that cortisol through the day pattern. So lots of things to understand there. Urinary incontinence can start happening for women. And then difficult, like libido, energy can really wane. So yeah, when estrogen is low, there's a sense of, in some ways that I've heard from a lot of clients, is like I'm losing myself, or I'm losing a part of myself. Like I don't feel like myself. And when you don't feel like yourself, that's often a sign of this estrogen shift.
I feel like you just described like perimenopause, menopause, everything. So is the majority of those symptoms do come from this estrogen change, sounds like. Okay. So the key is getting your labs done so that you can see where your estrogen is. And then like, let's say I go in and I get my labs done and my estrogen's low. What are the choices that I have?
So when your labs, I couldn't agree with you more. They're so important. And it's important to understand that estrogen can be tested from a blood sample, a urine sample, a saliva sample. And so it's really important to go to a functional doctor, because you're going to want to see not just how your body's making estrogen, but how is it detoxifying and getting rid of estrogen, and if it's how it's being stored in the body. And so all those pathways are very important to understand. Once that's identified for you, then there's so many options. And this is what I love, because I have some women who they've gone through menopause beautifully. They don't want to go back. Like in them, they're like, oh no, my life is fine without estrogen. I just can't sleep. Everything's dry. And, and they've got these few symptoms that is lowering their quality of life. And so there's estrogen creams, there's estrogen pellets, that some people have estrogen pellets injected. I do not suggest oral estrogen because estrogen is of best benefit when it's locally brought into the body, and where it doesn't go through the liver and other inflammatory pathways. So, but yeah, creams. You could also do a cream, external cream. Maybe you do it on the inner thigh, or you could do a cream, or you could do it intravaginally. And then there are some suppositories as well. There's so many mucosal surfaces intravaginally and in the pelvic floor region that that's going to be the quickest, highest effect. Okay. So that will happen. So if someone is experiencing incontinence, urinary incontinence, a small dose intravaginally can do wonders to strengthen those ligaments and prevent urinary incontinence.
This is fascinating. I think the thing is that I have learned so much from you, but one of the things that I've learned is that each of us is so unique in how we are made. And it's kind of like each of our bodies is this puzzle. And so when you start exploring functional medicine and you really start digging into your labs, you can get like a customized plan for you, because you might have some of these symptoms, but as you're going to see from our other videos, it might be from another hormone. Like you need to not just assume your estrogen's high or low. You need to make sure that a lab is actually telling you that. So is there anything else that you want to add about estrogen before we wrap this one up?
I just want to add that as we go into perimenopause and into menopause, as we have this estrogen shift, if you think of hormones as like a car a little bit, the adrenals are the shocks. So what that means is that as the estrogen lowers and as the estrogen shifts, our adrenals really take in the ability for us to manage the shift, to support that change, to regulate, and the adrenals are also able to make estrogen. So they make it's just crucial, because I feel like oftentimes with estrogen in particular, we've got this complicated web. And so as women, we know when we do the self-care, when we take time out and we do those things that that feed the soul, we really are helping to manage this estrogen system.
Mhm. And I
So,
love that because it's like, I think sometimes when you start, like you were saying, I just don't feel like myself or I'm losing myself. I heard someone else say, I just see someone, like my light is just dimmed. Um,
mhm.
that doesn't have to happen, you guys. I think that's the whole point of this is that all these things that are happening in our body are completely normal. It's part of the aging process, but there are some solutions and things that we can do to actually help regulate that. So thank you so much. This is a little snippet of what estrogen is, and we're going to move on to some more. But again, if you've not had your labs done, I highly recommend that you find a functional medicine doctor. We'll put Dr. McBride's information in like the links and stuff when we post this video. But it's just so the more you dig in, the more interesting it becomes, and the more you have hope that you can feel really good and age gracefully. So thank you so much for this. I appreciate you.
Thank you. So fun.